just learned that Dr. Oz was sending emails urging the Trump administration to begin promoting the use of an anti-malaria drug, hydroxychloroquine, as an unproven treatment for coronavirus as early as the beginning stages of the pandemic. Now we know this because there is a new select House committee report on the government's handling of the coronavirus pandemic. And through that investigation, they uncovered emails that Oz had sent to members of Trump's administration, including Jared Kushner and Dr. Deborah Birx, about the use of hydroxychloroquine. And we're gonna share some excerpts from those emails right now. So in one of the emails that he sent to Dr. Deborah Birx, he said, quote, "We cannot hide behind study protocols if we are not allowed to proceed. I want to push brave Americans to join trials on my show tomorrow, but cannot without a game plan for accessing drugs." Oz wrote that he would, quote, "personally recruit and pay for a trial," but was having trouble finding the anti-malaria pills. He cited the testimony of French microbiologist Dr. Dieter Rault, who said that the drug was effective in clearing 24 patients of COVID in a test that wasn't randomized or peer reviewed. And as we all know at this point, hydroxychloroquine was never proven to be an effective treatment for coronavirus. And I don't know, I've been looking into why Dr. Oz was so adamant about the Trump administration promoting the use of hydroxychloroquine. Was there a financial motive for Dr. Oz? I haven't really been able to find concrete evidence in that regard, but it is fascinating that he was one of the individuals behind the scenes who was urging the Trump administration to, again, promote the use. Now, on the same day, by the way, Oz emailed Jared Kushner and was just kind of like demanding a faster rollout of hydroxychloroquine to combat the pandemic. He wrote, quote, "You should outline that 130 million hydroxychloroquine pills are coming into the market, which can treat 5 to 10 million people and offer an accurate timetable for additional supply to slow down coronavirus." When Kushner responded saying that clinical tests or trials for the drug were starting that week, Oz replied that such studies would be a plodding process which will take a month before we have results. He encouraged Kushner to make trials for hydroxychloroquine a national priority and insist on immediate enrollment. He even says, "It has been almost a week since we learned of the French data and over a month since the Chinese data, and we still have no patients in trials. Doctors and nurses are already struggling to find pills for off-label use, but at least we have a potential pandemic solution at our fingertips." And Kushner responded with, "Well, what do you recommend to speed it up?" And uncertain what his response to that is, but what's clear to me, Cenk, is that he didn't really care too much about ensuring that the efficacy of the drug was proven. He didn't really care too much about going through the protocols and undergoing the clinical trials. He just wanted the Trump administration to roll this out and promote the use, even though there wasn't concrete evidence showing that hydroxychloroquine, again, an anti-malaria drug, treats COVID.
Yeah, the Republican Party has just become a nest of vipers and con men. So it's one con man shilling to another con man about a drug that is not pertinent to this issue at all. Why? Probably money, but on the other hand, maybe like Dr. Oz is on a roll in advocating for fake medicines that don't work. I mean, that's what he did on the TV show over and over again and got called into Congress for miracle cures of this and that. Maybe he's just become like a weirdo conspiracy theorist that thinks that like what the medical community says is wrong. He's somehow smarter than 99% of the rest of the doctors in the world, and he knows secret things without data. Ridiculous, totally. I mean, this guy used to be a top heart surgeon, man, like incredibly well respected, and then he just lost his mind. Greed is a hell of a drug. So, bunch of scammers, and we have to sit here and try to dissect every scam. Why, like, how are they going to make money out of this one? But what we do know is
hydroxychloroquine. I know it's a hard one.
Okay, Ironically, I have COVID right now. Maybe I should have taken it. I'm kidding. So I couldn't spit that word out. Anyways, we know it doesn't work, right? And so I don't know why Dr. Oz is pushing it. I do know that you shouldn't trust any Republican politician as a doctor for their medical advice. That's literally it's like a life-threatening problem if you do that.
So I should also note that while these revelations are interesting, to see the kind of communications that were happening behind the scenes is important. Oz didn't really hold back in promoting the use of hydroxychloroquine publicly. And so I'm gonna show you a video from April of 2020 where he went on Larry King's show and did the same thing. Let's watch.
What is hydroxychloroquine? What is that?
I think the reason that a lot of Americans heard about this medication is there's a famed French researcher, Didier Raoult, who's invented a bunch of solutions and he actually discovered different species of viruses, who was of the belief that when combined with azithromycin or Z-Pak, this malaria medication could be effective. He did some very small initial studies, too small to draw any conclusions from. Then he did a larger study with 80 patients where he had what he believed were good results.
So for the Select House Committee investigating the response to COVID, I think what they need to look into, I don't know if they're looking into it at all. If they are, they should really focus on it. Everything has a motive, right? And I'm curious if there was a financial motive behind promoting the use of drugs like hydroxychloroquine or ivermectin. With ivermectin, there's more evidence out there showing that there was a financial motive for people promoting it. But they should look into whether that was the case for hydroxychloroquine as well. And that way they can prevent grifters from grifting when it comes to a pandemic in the future.
So there's actually two other possibilities, Anna. One is that Dr. Oz realized the same thing Tucker Carlson realized, but a little bit earlier in the field of medicine. The American people love conspiracy theories. If you give them something where you go, well, the authorities don't want you to know this, but if you really take this flaxseed oil, all of a sudden you're gonna be 20 years younger. They're like, yes, right? So he realized that that was a shortcut to popularity. And I think that he abused that. And maybe he just got in that mindset. So that's a possibility. And then, by the way, that's kind of his best case scenario, okay? Another possibility is this really interesting thing that I learned about just a couple of days ago in an interview I did about QAnon followers and the people who are directing QAnon. I did on The Conversation, okay? So, by the way, if you missed the conversation, you can get it in our podcasting network. And I think you really should check out those interviews. They're really interesting. So in this one, they explained that sometimes the right wing will pick something that no one else is talking about because there's nothing on Google about it. And they will fill that information hole with their info, telling you how great it is and fake studies, etc. And then they'll fill it with a way to sell that stuff, right? And so that's why they might have picked random medication like ivermectin or hydroxychloroquine, so that they could, because it was in an information hole and they could fill Google with their own information on it. So it is really interesting, the different scams that the right wing runs. But consult an actual doctor if you want real advice.
Thanks for watching The Young Turks, we really appreciate it. Another way to show support is through YouTube memberships. You'll get to interact with us more. There's live chat emojis, badges. You've got emojis of me, Anna, John, JR. So those are super fun. But you also get playback of our exclusive member-only shows and specials right after they air. So all of that, all you gotta do is click that join button right underneath the video. Thank you.